Joining me live now, privileged to be joined by two very respected voices in the security sphere. Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain is an Indian Army veteran and one of India's most well-regarded analysts and commentators on security affairs. Good evening, General. Welcome. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, also columnist, geopolitics expert and a senior fellow at the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. Abhijit, welcome. Thank you very much, both of you, for being with me. General Hasnain, to you first, sir. It's easy to take some things, very complicated things like terror attacks and conspiracies, especially when there are details still coming in, and say that, this was intended to be a 26/11 style attack. But it's difficult to ignore the similarities. It's difficult to ignore the strands that are coming out, from the investigation so far, General, that this was much larger or intended to be much larger than what we saw happen outside the Red Fort.
Shiv, thank you for inviting me for your program. Yes, firstly, let me compliment you. I think you've done some real footwork. Your correspondents have been all around. And I have no doubt about the kind of information that you have picked up. I can say that the moment I heard of this incident the day before yesterday, and one looked at the details coming in till half the night that night, one could make out that obviously this was not the intended place or the intended target as such. With the kind of investigation which had gone on for 15 days, it was becoming quite obvious that this was a very large network. There was a tremendous amount of resources involved in this. There had been a fair amount of reconnaissance carried out, and obviously the amount of explosive which had been recovered would ultimately have led to multiple attacks in different places. For me to conclude that this is a 26/11 type of attack may be a little premature, but I go along with your analysis. For me to contribute to this, it would be better that I talk about the larger picture.
Yeah.
And the larger picture, I would say, is that for long, one has been always feeling that we have done very well in Jammu and Kashmir. We have reduced terrorism to the barest minimum. Infiltration is down completely. Recruitment is almost in single numbers today. I think there was cause for celebration, no doubt, that we have got the better of terrorism as such. But remember, in this kind of an environment, it is networks which finally remain the most important thing.
Yes.
If you have not been able to neutralize the networks, and it never becomes evident that you have finally achieved the neutralization, they will always return at some stage or the other. Now, it's been 15 years since the J&K networks were taken out from all our urban centers all over northern India.
Yes.
There were connections, sleeper agents everywhere, resource mobilization which used to go on at that time. That had all stopped for the last 15 years. Now, obviously, there is a revival of some of these networks within Jammu and Kashmir, and from there a proliferation back to those various urban centers today here. That is the real and live danger which is existent. I think we were singularly fortunate. The intelligence agencies have done a marvelous job by picking up all the threads 15 days earlier, having reached the stage where there was no intelligence failure or anything of that kind which people are alleging perhaps. What they have been able to do is they have been able to avert a major catastrophe.
Very well said.
Which is what could have happened.
Yeah.
And the details you are outlining out may come 70%, 80%, 90% true, but there's no doubt that there was a much larger mission which was in place.
Yeah.
And details of that will come out as we go along with the investigation.
Abhijit, in your view, what were the Delhi conspirators? What was this module trying to do? I think it's very clear that what ended up happening wasn't really the end game, what wasn't really the plan. What, in your view, were they trying to do?
I think personally that they were trying to transport whatever this explosive was to keep it safe. You see, this week alone, we have the security agencies have caught some insane amounts of explosives, a chemical weapons factory for the manufacture of ricin, Glocks and Berettas, and AK-47. Clearly, these guys got spooked that the network somehow had been compromised and exposed, and they were trying to get to a safe place. This is not, I suspect, this is not the way that they expected the bomb to go off. Primarily because we know the way these things happen. You see, when the visuals are playing right now on your screen, in that area, had there been shrapnel, which is basically ball bearings or coins or something like
Yeah.
that wrapped around the explosive, the damage, the number of people would have killed would have been 50, 60, something like that. Because, car glass and car metal is very thin. It doesn't actually protect you from ball bearings and things like that. The second method that is used in Kashmir is the double tap, where you wait for the first responders to come, ambulances and things after the first explosion. And when the police, ambulances, and everybody is close by, then the second explosion goes off. It was none of that. I think this was an unsafe transport gone wrong when they were trying to relocate. This must have been some kind of a backup redundancy plan in case they got exposed.
Okay.
And I think we're very lucky. I know this is absolutely no solace, and this is going to sound very harsh to the 12 people who died and their families. But look, it could have been 1,200. I will agree with General Hussain. It wasn't 26/11 exactly. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. This would have been, given the amount of explosive, I don't think this was going to be a shooting attack. This was going to be explosives placed in all kinds of
Sure.
very heavy traffic public areas. And, I think the Mumbai blasts of the 1990s,
Yeah.
where 400 people would die in blasts, I think that is something of what they were going for.
Okay.
That said, Shiv, let us be very clear about one thing. This has come about because of Pakistan's proximity to America. If you remember, they carried out the parliament attack just 3 months after 9/11 because they felt so emboldened that America now has to depend on them. They are you remember, it is
Great
the
point,
same
yeah.
pattern. The moment they cozy up to America, the Americans tell us it is actually a break on their recklessness. It is in fact an encouraging factor. They cannot resist doing this kind of thing.